Hello and welcome to the Bedroom Studios podcast, the podcast where we talk about what goes on behind the scenes in a musician's world and bridge the industry gap by bringing their stories, expertise, and advice to early career artists. Subscribe to join us for a fun chat about life as a creative person, tips and tricks for pursuing an artistic career, navigating the music industry, and more. My name is Della Rossa, and today I will be interviewing Kate Yeager. Kate Yeager is a queer, New York-born, Nashville-based independent singer-songwriter. Teaming up with Grammy-nominated producer Jared Anderson, Kate's new EP, Before the Lights Go Out, explores themes of vulnerability, love, and self-discovery. The 2023 single, Fat, about her lifelong struggle with being comfortable in her body, caught fire online as a performance clip of the tune rapidly racked up over 15 million views on social media. The viral track inspired fans to share their own stories and garnered praise from fans and celebrities around the world. I had such an amazing time chatting with Kate about her music, tour, and experiences as an independent artist. I hope you enjoy this episode of the Bedroom Studios podcast. Welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy you're here.
I'm so stoked. Thanks for having me.
I'd like to start somewhat at the beginning, just giving people some context of who you are. If you think back early into your artistic journey, what do you think was the turning point, or like a moment or an experience that made you think, okay, then I want to pursue music as my career?
I think that I just it's kind of weird because it's just always felt pretty innate to me that this was what I was going to be doing for the rest of my life. I don't think that there was really like one moment where I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this forever. But definitely when I was like a kid, we used to perform family shows a lot.
Oh.
So I feel like I've been being prepped for the stage since I was a wee baby. There's like actually photos of me at my parents' house, like performing in front of the fireplace with my cousins, where I'm like holding a guitar upside down and I didn't even know how to play it yet. And like, I just think for me, I needed something that was going to allow me to be myself. And the most I've ever felt like myself was when I was doing music. So even when I was like in high school and I was like bullied all the time, or not really, I was really bullied in middle school. Like that was my bad. That was my bad time. When that was going on, I really just felt like the only place that I could be myself was my music. And I felt like, oh, I just want to feel like myself and for myself for the rest of my life. And so I just like never gave it up. And I just kept like growing it and building it and loving it and nurturing it. And it was perfect because it was exactly everything that I needed.
And it's so great when it's like something that you create yourself.
Yeah, I used to do musical theater all the time.
I could tell from your songwriting.
It's kind of hard to run from it when you're like,
yeah,
when you did it so hard. I was such a theater kid when I was growing up. So like, I really just wanted myself. Yeah. I wanted to tell my stories. But I did love to be in a production. I loved it.
I kind of describe myself as a theater kid who never did theater because it just never happened, but I love it so much.
Oh, I live, laugh, love theater.
Yeah. So you put out an EP recently.
Oh my gosh, I did.
Which is so exciting.
Thank you.
I want to talk about more of the EP as kind of its own thing, but I was wondering if we could talk about your single Fat a little bit more.
Go for it.
Was this the first song that really blew up on social media for you, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like night and day. It was crazy. It was really crazy.
Yeah. And that was actually I think the video where I discovered you as well. So can you tell us more about the meaning behind the song and the songwriting process?
Yeah. So Fat is a song about how I had this realization that I would have never learned how to hate myself if I didn't hear it from other people first. Like, I didn't have an awareness of who I was or my body or me as a person until somebody was like, these things are wrong. And then those are the things that you become incredibly aware about. And it's not just about being fat. It can be about like being a woman or being like a person or anyone, or like your queerness, or I've had people like equate it to their racial identity of how like they just didn't know. It's for anybody who's just ever viewed themselves as different, where like you just would have never learned to have negative self-talk if other people didn't point out things about you. And I wrote this song with a dear friend of mine. Her name's Nell Maynard. Wow, Mel Maynard. Good job, Kate. Her name is Nell Maynard. She's phenomenal. She's an incredible songwriter in Nashville. And I had written the first half of the song and kind of posted it online, and nothing really happened with it. I was like, do I release this? Like, whatever. And then Nell commented on it and was like, you have to. And then I like responded and I was like, only if you finish it with me. And then we got a date on the books and we just started writing together, and like we like took it apart and rebuilt it back up. And the story of the song is exactly like the story of things that happened in my life. Like it's literally the beginning, middle, and end is just that song. And I'm just really grateful that I had somebody who like let me go through that journey with them in writing it to get it to where it needed to be.
There are so many lines in the song that just hit so hard. And the one that this was in the second listen. No, this was the fourth listen for me, where like it really hit me. I've listened to the song so many times. But in the first verse, you're talking about the boy who asked you out as a joke. Something that every time I listen to it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like so smart, is when you say as a joke, it's the start of the next line. And so you're saying, oh, this boy asked me out. And then as a listener, you're like, oh, okay, the boy asked you out. And you think that's it. And then it's as a joke. And I think that's so smart because it mirrors the feeling of being asked out as a joke, where it's like the person asks you out and you're kind of like, oh, that's nice. And then people laugh and you're like, oh, not so nice.
Yeah. You got to let people live in like the fantasy of it for a second before, at least when we were writing it, we were like, there has to be, when you hear the next line, it's just so much more devastating.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that's what you got it.
Yeah, you know something's coming because of the first line.
Yeah, you know something's coming.
Yeah, and I think like one thing in your songwriting is you're kind of holding us so close and you keep us in suspense almost, but then when you have the payoff afterwards.
Yeah.
You give us what we want, but you give us way more than what we thought was going to happen.
It is crazy. Because that's so cool to hear. Like, I think for me, when I'm writing, all I ever just want to do is like tell my story and tell the truth. And that is, telling the story is like my favorite part, whether it's like being on stage and like performing, telling the stories of the songs, or just like letting the songs exist as themselves. I just really love being a storyteller. It's so fun.
As the artist that's telling these stories, how do you sort of reconcile with writing something that's so deep and so personal, but then putting it out into the world and having it just kind of be open for people to listen to and perceive?
Well, my favorite songs when I was growing up as a kid felt like mine. Like not meaning not songs that I wrote. Like I felt like those artists wrote them for me, like when I was growing up. And so for me, the fact that I get to do the same thing where like I can have my story and write it down, and then the only way that anybody is going to feel less alone in this world is if I, like, let me back up. So when I was a kid, I would listen to these songs, and it was like the only time that I didn't feel alone. Because for for a moment, it felt like somebody else in this world felt something the way that I felt. So even though the stories were very different, the feelings were very similar. So for me, even if the stories are different, right? Even if somebody's story is different from mine, like it's the feeling that matters. And it's not just about that person relating to the song. It actually is also making me feel less alone in the feeling by being able to share it with the world and like see it resonate. And so, yeah, it's an absolutely terrifying feeling to release a song called Fat and perform it in a bikini. It is the deepest exposure therapy I have ever had. And it was highly terrifying, but it was also like, I felt so seen and loved, and I am just so happy that that song was there for other people in ways that made them feel seen and loved. And all of a sudden, this very crazy world in which there's a you and a me, it became an us in a very like beautiful way. And that's all I've ever wanted, is like, I just want us forever, like kind of vibes. Aww. Like we're gonna grow together, we're gonna change together, we're gonna do all of it together, but like I don't want it unless other people are a part of it, because like it's for all of us to feel less alone.
Do you think that if you were to have pared it down a bit and like been more generic in your writing, or like not as specific in quote unquote protecting yourself a little bit, do you think that it would have had that same impact?
I mean, there's no saying. There's the avenue of music that like I want to write is very like Bruce Springsteen-esque, where it is incredibly detailed but can relate to like a plethora of people. So like in Atlantic City, I always talk about this in interviews, but let's just like in Atlantic City, for example, they're like, we blew up the Chicken Man in Philly last night. And everyone's like, who the hell is the Chicken Man? If you're not from New Jersey or Philly, you just like don't get it. You know, you're like, who's the Chicken Man? Why are we talking about? And then you get to the chorus and you're like, everyone dies. That's a fact. Like, and then you're like, okay, now it relates to everybody, because you're taking this feeling that everybody has and you're allowing it to reach a broader audience. And I think when those two things shake hands, you get incredibly powerful music, because people can then map their own experiences onto the song. And that's what I'm saying. It's like the song's not yours anymore. It's for everybody else.
That's really cool. And I also want to preface by saying I'm so glad that you have the courage to be so vulnerable with people, because it just comes through, even just in how your vocal performance is so on point with every song.
Thank
and just
you.
showing you have almost like yearning quality to it, and it just expresses everything.
It took a while to get there. I mean, like it really is a journey trying to figure it out. Like it's really throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what sticks. That's literally what being an artist is. So you just get there somehow.
Yeah. How far in advance how long did you have that song, Fat, with you before promoting it and starting to do things with it?
I'm not gonna lie, I don't even remember. Why lie, you know? I could come up with an answer, but I don't want to lie to you. I just know that it was over a year. It was over a year, maybe 2 years of like having that song. But it's also like with a project like this, I really just wanted to be prepared. So like everything was recorded and mixed and mastered and stuff, or everything was recorded fully and mixed last May-ish. It was like starting to come to a finish. So we had stuff last May that was going to happen. And then we were like, okay, well, we need to do photo shoots. We need to do videos. We need to do album artwork. We need to do all of these things to make sure all of our ducks are in a row. And by we, I mean me, because at that time I didn't have a team. And now I'm feeling really lucky that I have like management and a booking agent. But those things only happened because the internet said, it's your time. And I was just like, me and my friends in Nashville were just like trying to get it all together to make sure that like I had a feeling, I don't know, I like had a feeling that this song was going to be a song that like made not even like a difference, but just like felt like a step forward in my artistry.
Yeah.
And so I just like wanted to be prepared. I was just like, I'm going to make the videos. I'm going to do the thing. And it's so crazy because like even when I released the video, the first video of me in a bikini, like it didn't take off. It did not take off at all. It was like on the third or fourth or fifth or sixth post about it that the internet was like, it's time. And I was like, oh, sick. And then it was like getting like 2 million views in 24 hours, like per day.
That's
and
amazing.
I was like, this is what is going on. And I like, you kind of like are like, this is what you hope for, but it's just like one of those things where you're like, all right, well, buckle up. It's time to try to do this now. And so that's what we did.
When you're making the social media content, for the audio of your video, was it you singing at the pool live or did you overdub it with something?
It was live. We had to dangle a live microphone over a hot tub. Yes.
Yeah. 'Cause you don't see that. When you see the video, you just think like, oh, it's just a really good camera quality and a really good audio quality. And then you go to film a video and you look like, it's like, what? No. I fully, like, it's so funny because, I fully had to, like, we even, I think, had to, I don't know if I have a photo of it, but we literally took like pool toys that were like a little bit heavier and like put them on the other side of the microphone stand. So or like not even pool toys, but like our bags, and like put them on the other side of the mic stand so it wouldn't like topple. No. Because we had to stretch the arm basically to its fullest length. Yeah. So it would be in front of my face. And if it didn't do that, then you weren't going to hear me. And I was like, oh, God. And then so we didn't even have, like, there wasn't even, like, a small mic stand we could use. It was, like, the only mic stand. Because the pool's right in front of you.
And I had to, like, it wasn't even, like, a pool that I knew. Like, there's this website. You can rent pools in Nashville. Yeah. So it's like, I'm going to rent this pool for 2 hours and show up in a bikini with my friend Gabe, who's filming everything. And so I had to basically call this person who I rented their pool. And I was like, hey, you guys, just so you know, like, is it okay if I film? It's just an acoustic video, blah, 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 blah. Like, I didn't want them to think that I was, like filming, like, risque, like pool content. I was like, I didn't want them to just, like, see me in, like, a white bikini being, like, filmed by, like, a lurking man. Not that Gabe is a lurking man. Like, he's just, like, sweetly following, like, gingerly following me around with the camera. But, like, I was like, oh boy, oh no. Yeah. So like it was honestly like a hilarious process. I don't even know if those people know that their pool has been seen literally millions of times. But I should probably tell them. It's probably a good idea. Maybe they'll let me use their pool for free then.
Yeah. They'll raise the price on the rental. It'll be like, this is a famous pool.
Famous pool. I am famous. It's just the water.
Yeah.
They're like, what's in the water here? It's famous water.
Yes. But yeah, I think like I feel like the perception of something going viral on the internet is like the clip goes viral, gets a lot of views, and bam, you're famous.
Yeah.
Yep. Is that how it happened?
No.
No. I've made it.
I'm not famous. I love that you think I'm famous. That's so cool. One day, let's manifest it. If we all start believing it, maybe it'll be true.
I literally posted on my close friends story half an hour ago. I'm like, guys, I'm interviewing a famous person in half an hour.
And they were like, who? I mean, like, it just kind of happens. Like, it's basically a lot of a clip goes viral and then you just like keep up with the comments, gotta keep up with everything. Like the weirdest part is the fall off, because then you have all of a sudden you have 100,000 followers on Instagram, and then you have to like sometimes they are all engaged and sometimes they're not because people just like click follow and then like stay and then or like some people leave. Sometimes algorithmically like you'll hit more people than you'll hit other, like it's just like there's nothing you can do. The internet is a crazy place. So you're just like, okay, I'm out here. Yeah. And we're just gonna keep throwing stuff at a wall. That's my whole thing is like with every piece of content I make, I'm just like, it's me. I'm just gonna do my best and like see what happens. Like you can't predict anything, so why try? And like you're gonna put a lot of stake and sorry, you're gonna hear my dog barking.
It's the wonderful sound.
The wonderful sound of butter. Single stick of butter. He's excited. I think his mom's home right now. But basically, you just gotta try. Just gotta try stuff. Yeah. See what happens. You never know.
I think a common roadblock for a lot of artists starting out is getting comfortable in front of the camera and like sometimes even doing like those kind of gimmicky things and writing the hooks on the TikTok posts and all of that.
You just have to not care. That's here's my whole thing about the internet, and I stand by it. Is that there was a time in the music industry where you would hear like people would go to clubs and like discover somebody. It doesn't happen anymore, really. Sometimes it does if you're like really lucky, but it doesn't happen like it used to. And these clubs used to have like built-in audiences because they knew that they could trust the curation of the music at those places. You just have to look at the internet like that. It's just every time you post on the internet, there's an opportunity that there is a new person who can see your stuff. And that's why the stakes are so low. Because if somebody doesn't like it, it's not going to show up on their algorithm again. So there's a new person that comes in and fills that spot. And then you have the opportunity to be like, hi, every time I'm this person, this is why you should hang out. And then sometimes they do, and that's wonderful. But the stakes, truly, I have learned that the more that I curate something, the less well it does.
Interesting.
It's literally just people, because people want to know you. They don't want to know the curated you. They just want to get to know you. So it's just trying stuff and making it feel really human because you're human is what's going to lead to the thing working, which is what I feel like worked about Fat. Yeah. And like what worked with Edit and like the songs that like started to like pop. Because people were watching this thing happen and they were like, I feel that feeling.
Yeah. And I think also like for me anyways, so you hear the song and it resonates with you because you feel the emotions of the song, but it also helps us get to know you more as a person and your story. And so we get to know you as a person and as an artist. And I think that's what makes a lot of people want to stay.
That's very nice. Thanks.
Thumbs up.
I appreciate it.
No, honestly, like even just looking at all of your content and listening to the music that it's paired with, it's everything you're doing is so smart. Just even with the order of how you release the singles for your EP with like Fat, and then it was Close Off after that, right? So it's kind of similar subject matter, but a freaking banger. It's
yeah, like man.
An absolute bop. And so now it's like, okay, I'm still sad, but I'm partying. I'm having a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we got to see like all of those clips of you on stage performing it. Like we saw a really confident side of you. And so we still know you from the vulnerability, but it's also like, yeah, we're partying. We're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then with Edit, it's like you're introducing a whole new part of your identity, which, well, not new because you've had other releases before that talked about your queerness. But, you know, for the people who are new, it's like, you know, they might not have known that. And then it's like, okay, I know who you are from this song, but then now I know more about you. And so it's just like you're kind of opening up to everyone, which is amazing as well.
Yeah.
That's my interpretation anyways.
I appreciate it. No, that's a great interpretation. That was kind of the whole thing about this project was like, I just wanted people to like see me.
Mm-hmm.
And like starting off with that was an absolute gut punch. And I was aware of that. Like I literally was talking to my fiance and she was like, that's the first song. And I was like, yeah, I'm not messing around. You're either here or you're not. You better get in, loser. We're going shopping kind of vibes. Like, like buckle up. And so for me, that was the first one. And then Close Up, absolutely bang city.
Yes.
And then Edit, people got this whole, you were right, this whole different perspective of me and who I am, but still like you got a bop out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the next tracks, like putting them out, like making sure that One Last Look was the last thing on the record, to just like be like, no, we're looking at all of these things that are in our lives and like we cannot change the cards that we've been dealt, but we can like learn how to play them better. Mm-hmm. That was like the whole point of this project, was like, we're gonna take one last look of everything and then we're gonna like turn off the lights and walk out the door and see what happens. Like that's the only thing we can do.
Yeah. I feel emotional now. That really hit a chord. Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, that's like the song where it's like you're tearing up on the subway.
Oh yeah, and like all of that song is so funny. It's so true. Somebody was like, "Did your neighbor really help you?" And I was like, "Yeah, her name's Ariel. She's phenomenal. She was so sweet."
Yeah.
We were both women that lived by ourselves, so we would like always help each other build stuff.
Aw. So that's my dream, is to live somewhere where there's a community where you just kind of become friends.
Yeah, it was really strange. Like you don't expect that in Brooklyn, but she was great. We like moved in around the same time. Like, yeah, she would help me out all the time. She was great.
That's great. Yeah. So do you feel, so what you were saying with taking the one last look, do you feel like this project is closing a chapter and then you're gonna kind of start a new one musically or thematically?
I feel like this project is just the beginning. Because once you know what cards you've been dealt and how you're going to use them, then you have to tell me how you're going to use them. Mm. You know, like that. I feel like I am like writing for what's next, but the not running from the truth of these songs and like writing songs and releasing songs that are like insanely vulnerable. I feel like it's just like, okay, I took one foot, I took a step, let's take another one.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know what the next, I'm like working on it now. I'm writing a lot for it now, but like, we don't know where it's going to go, but like, I can promise you that it's still going to be me no matter what, no matter what world I step you into.
That's amazing. I'd love to talk about the process of building your team. So I think that's a really, really difficult thing for new artists financially, but also like, when you have some success, it's like, what do I do? Because no one told me how to build a team because I was never able to afford it.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I feel really lucky because what I'm going to tell you is truly unhelpful. I mean, for me, building a team was just like trusting my gut. Mm. I talked to so many people and like, I just really found management that I loved, and like she really believes in me and like what we're doing, and she's just like, I want you to be you, like I want you to be able to be the most you possible, and I just want to be able to support you in that. And the minute I heard that and like the way she would like talk about like my future and my plans, I was like, we're aligned. Like, and in my gut I was just like, we got to do this, we got to do it together. And then we started. And then I got reached out by like a couple of small little nibbles on some booking agencies. And then I was listening to my booking agent talk, and he was just like, he's like, everything you stand for, I stand for. Aww. I want to elevate this as much as we can. He was just like, I'm just going to work insanely hard for you. And like the way that he would talk about the project and like what things needed to be done and like how he operates and how he works. It was another thing also. So he works for like an independent booking agency that's owned by a woman. It's called Theta, and it's based out of Philly in Pennsylvania. And I just like it all kind of like all of my like I just felt it in my stomach. I was like, this is what having a team is supposed to feel like, having people you can trust. I love that when I make mistakes, they tell me and they're like, this is a learning opportunity. And I'm like,
it's a very teachery thing to say.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like I'm being punished. It's just feeling like I'm like learning a lot. And I feel really, like I said, just like, I don't know. It was just these were all like gut decisions. And like, if I don't feel it in my gut, if it's like not right in my gut, then I just won't do it.
Was it a process? And I'm asking this because it was a process for me. Did you find that it was a process to learn how to trust yourself and trust your intuitions?
Yeah, I mean, like the creative industry is riddled with self-doubt. But like, I don't know, I feel like I just got to a place where I was like, the only person that I can make happy is me. I had this conversation with my friend, who's this incredible artist. His name's Jake Wesley Rogers, and him and I were talking about stuff. And he was like, Kate, you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. And what a boring cup of tea that would be. And I was like,
it would be diluted. It would be tea diluted. Sorry.
Yeah. No, literally, I was like, Jake, where are you coming up with stuff like this? Is crazy. And when I was like, that's so good. And I was like, I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but I want to be my favorite cup of tea. So like, I'm just going to go for it and see what happens. And like, ever since that conversation, I just feel like I've just been trying to be the most me possible.
That's such a great way to go about it.
I feel like Charlie XCX and Chapel Roan are like the perfect example of that.
Yes, I love it.
When you're the most you, that's when you like that is when.
Yes.
Period.
Mic drop. 100%. We talked a little bit about your EP, Before the Lights Go Out. Is there a specific song that stands out to you on that project, or is everything just special?
Oh, they're all special for in their own rights. They're all like such pivotal moments in my life that I like. But I mean, like, Fat changed my life, so I feel like I have a very different opinion of it than I'm just like, oh wow, that's crazy. The thing that I was the most insecure about was the thing that people love the most. And I was like, that's so cool.
Yeah. For this EP, I feel like you've done something very difficult and very rare, but it's something I have a lot of respect for. Like when artists pull this off, where like you release a larger scale project and every single song on that project is a hit. Like there's no fluff. I was gonna say like, oh, there's no fat on it, but there is because of the song. But like everything is so good. Every part of every song, like you don't leave any crumbs at all.
Yeah, I thank you. That's really nice of you to say. I that's all you can hope for when you put out something like that.
So the last topic I'd like to talk about is your tour and going on tour yourself and supporting artists on tour. Yes. Can you tell us a bit more just generally about that experience and what that was like for you?
Are we talking about Girl Named Tom?
Sure.
That was just the tour that I got off of.
Yes.
And it was, I mean, they're just the best. Like, they're so sweet. I literally, like, would get off stage and, like, the three of them would be, like, waiting in the wings.
Aww.
Like, Becca would have her phone. She was like, I didn't go. Like, it was just, we had such a good time on tour. And I feel really lucky that I get to, like, support music that I love so much. So whether that be, like, Girl Named Tom or, like, The Collection, who I've been following for years, or Morgan, who I'm supporting in September, also a Collection in September. Those are artists that I've, like, loved for so long. And, like, I met Morgan in 2019. Wow. And, like, it just feels so cool that I get to use the thing that I love to support the people that I love. And I just get to be a fan every night, which is the best. There's, like, it's so cool. It's so cool to like see it, and I just feel so lucky that I get to go on the road and play music at people's faces.
That's
I feel so
amazing.
lucky. Yeah.
I'm so happy for you.
Thanks.
I always love seeing the performance videos, especially when it's the first tour that someone's got, or like a first big show, and you see the performance video and they're just out there killing it. It's like, yes, I did it.
Yeah, I felt really lucky that I got to take a content person with me this time. Yeah.
That's so great. How do you adapt to the different vibes of each crowd and each venue?
I've recently taken to, you know, it's really interesting because I love performing live. It's like the best. And I think that just knowing how to be adaptable and like what'll work for certain audiences and kind of like knowing what you're getting into. Sometimes I go and perform at a place where like people have literally no idea who I am. And like for Girl Named Tom, for example, like I would get on stage and I would be like, I would walk out on stage and the audience would get quiet. These are like theaters of 1,000. So like theaters would get really quiet. And then I'd be like, oh, wow. I was like, you guys got so quiet. And I like literally addressed it like immediately. And I was like, I know you were expecting Girl Named Tom. And then I'm like, they look a lot. I know I look a lot different than I did on TV. And I try to like just like make it comfortable from the jump. But like with them, I even like state sometimes like as an opener, I was like, I have 2 goals to like get you toasty warm for this artist that you love and that you have paid money to see, and also to get you to fall in love with me. And those 2 things are about to happen, and we all just need to accept the world in which they're gonna happen. And then like sometimes like I'll even just be like, I know you're skeptical of me. You don't know who I am. Why would you trust me? You have no idea who I am. So then I just think it's about telling people who you are. And I have had to ask people to be quiet. I have had to ask people to be louder. It's like gentle parenting the audience.
Yeah.
It's the best way I could put it, I think.
I like how you kind of break that fourth wall.
It would be ridiculous not to.
Yeah.
It's just me and a guitar. What am I doing? Screaming at you for 30 minutes? Like with nothing back? That's crazy. I'm just like, we have to acknowledge the situation that we're in, where we like have entered this mutual contract of like being there for one another. And like sometimes I even say like with a tough crowd, I'm like, do you want to have a good show or do you want to have a great show? Because if you want to have a good show, we can keep doing what we're doing now. But if you want to have a great show, I'm going to need these 10 people to treat it like it's an arena. And then I promise everyone is going to have more fun.
Yeah, that's so great. This is giving me ideas of things to do for performing live.
Yeah. And whatever you do, you just got to say it with confidence.
Yeah.
Sell it up there.
Especially when you're going to new places and performing at new places, it could be hard to feel like comfortable on stage unless you like kind of shed, the thoughts and like just the things that, I don't know, for me, sometimes I'll like freeze a little bit and be like, okay, I got to keep on going. I got to keep on playing the song, but something's not feeling right. Oh
my God. Literally one time I forgot to take my medicine, my ADHD medication before I got on stage. And there was, I was playing a really slow song.
Oh, no.
And it was just me and the acoustic guitar. And behind me at the venue were all these TVs. It was like venue bar. And so I was there doing the venue thing, and all of a sudden I look up, and for some reason my brain was just like, whoa, TVs. And it was like Caitlin Clark, like sinking threes. And I literally had to stop and be like, I'm so sorry, everybody. I just messed up the words because you have no idea what's happening behind you, but Caitlin Clark is on fire. And they were like, what? And I was like, no, like y'all are here, just the two of us, but I have to block out like an extra layer of like Caitlin Clark just being like, Caitlin, you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. So you just gotta like, sometimes even when it's like moments like that where like those things wouldn't necessarily like be normal, like you kind of just have to like let the human moments happen during them.
Yeah, and like you said, say it with confidence. And I think people appreciate that when you're honest with them, like, as an audience. In your opinion, what was the best part of going on tour, and it's like most difficult part of being on tour?
The best part of going on tour is the people.
It's the friends we made along the way.
It's like so true. And cliche, but it's true. And then the worst part of going on tour is when you go on tour by yourself and you're in the car for like 8 to 10 hours, just like driving yourself around in hopes that you'll get to somewhere on time. And you just like have to do it yourself. It's just like time. You just gotta truck it. Yeah, that's all you can do. There's nothing else you can like. And then you kind of just like gotta hope you have a healthy meal in between. Like that's pretty much the vibe.
You said that, and I'm like imagining myself like, gotta pack the lettuce, the big cooler full of lettuce.
No, literally, sometimes we literally just bring like loaves. We just bring loaves of bread and like peanut butter and jelly, and like that's what we'll eat. And like stop at grocery stores for like carrot sticks. Yeah.
I guess it makes the 1,000 people arenas makes it feel like, whoa. It was all for this.
Yeah, those feel really different.
So we're getting to the end of the interview. So I have last two questions. If you could give your younger self a piece of advice or a resource when you were beginning your journey, what would it be?
Probably that you're right. This is what you're supposed to do. And like, I swear it's going to be worth it. But like, when it sucks, it's going to suck. And that's just going to have to be a reality that you're prepared for. But no, you are correct. You are right.
That's great. That's so important. It goes back to like the confidence.
Yeah, you're right. It can take you a while to learn that it's okay to be right, but you're right.
It is
Little
okay
Kate.
to be right. Yeah. That's something I would say to myself too. It's like,
you're right. Yeah. All right, what's your last question for me?
The last question is, do you have a music recommendation for our audience?
Do I have a music recommendation for your audience? Kate Yeager.
Yay. Hell yeah. Yeah.
We're
just going to put the whole EP on the listen to it twice.
Perfect. Yeah, I hear it's great for morning commutes.
It is. And afternoon commute. That's what I did. This morning I listened to it twice on the way to work, and then in the afternoon I listened to it twice on the way back.
Perfect. I don't ask for anything less. Anything more.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Of course,
thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Bedroom Studios podcast. Don't forget to add this podcast to your playlists and follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify at Bedroom Studios Podcast. You can follow Kate on social media and check out her music using the links in the description. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.